Somewhere in the drifting shadows, something watches. This is no gentle Christmas tale. Tonight we tell stories to make even the warmest heart shiver. From the frozen hills of Scotland to the icy fjords of Iceland, the season has its monsters. And they do not care for carols or candles. First, the Cailleach, the one-eyed Scottish hag sweeping across the barren land, bringing winter's cold and hunger to those who dare linger in the fields too long. Then Grýla, the giantess of Iceland, whose eyes gleam in the dark, seeking naughty children to drag back to her icy cave. And finally the Yule Cat, her enormous silent companion, prowling the snow-covered farms, ready to strike those who fail to earn the warmth of new clothes before Christmas. So gather close and wrap yourself in blankets and candlelight, for these are the top 3 most terrifying Christmas folklore creatures, and the frost that follows them bites sharper than any winter wind. Beware the Cailleach, because the hag is coming fast, and she is merciless. A farmer in a small 9th century Scottish village straightens from harvesting the last of his grain, his fingers numb and aching, and he looks out across his narrow strip of land. The fields are colourless now, scraped bare by the season, the soil dark and stiff beneath a thin skin of frost. On the hills beyond, sheep pick at the final tufts of grass, their breath rising in pale clouds as the wind scours the ground clean of warmth. Then the wind changes. It cuts through the valley like knives, rushing down from the mountains, carrying with it the promise of snow. The farmer pulls his cloak tighter as his neighbour passes by, boots crunching on frozen earth, a tight, knowing smile on his face. Without slowing, the neighbour tosses something small that lands at the farmer's feet. He looks down, and his stomach turns. A small doll woven from the last of the neighbour's harvested grain, its straw limbs bound tight, its hollow face staring up at him. The Cailleach has been passed on. A sign, a warning. Harvest too slowly and he will be the one forced to shelter the hag through the long, starving months of winter. The Cailleach, the old woman, the hag in Scots Gaelic, is the goddess of winter itself. She comes not gently, but to strip the land bare, to take your crops, your warmth, your shelter and your food stores, leaving only cold stone, empty fields and locked doors rattling in the wind. Known also as Beara, the Queen of Winter, she is reborn at Halloween, as the days shorten and the light begins to fail. As the final harvest is gathered, the farmers perform an old, fearful ritual. From the last cut of grain belonging to the farmer who finishes first, a small effigy is made, a crude likeness of the goddess herself. It is passed from neighbour to neighbour as the days grow colder, until at last it reaches the one who was slowest and unluckiest. The one who must take her in, feed her, and endure her presence all winter long. A fate which none of them wished to claim. For the Cailleach is winter's punishment. She is said to appear as a one-eyed hag, her skin the dark blue of deep frost, her teeth the colour of rusted iron. In some tales she walks with a great staff or cane, and wherever its tip strikes the earth, the ground freezes solid. Rivers lock beneath ice, and the soil hardens beyond hope. In others she carries a heavy hammer, using it to shape the land itself, mountains rising beneath her blows as she strides across the barren world, while great stones spill from her creel, her wicker basket, falling to the ground to form hills and ridges that scar the frozen landscape. She brings the snows with her, driving them ahead like a living thing, ill-tempered and relentless, a black crow perched upon her shoulder as her companion. She herds the deer through blizzards and whiteout storms, freezing the ground behind her as she goes, fighting the coming of spring with every step, determined to keep the world locked in cold and darkness. And yet for all her cruelty, she is not only feared, she is honoured. For the same winter that kills also prepares the land, The same frost that hardens the soil breaks it open, promising fertile ground when the thaw finally comes. It is said that on the 1st of February the Cailleach goes out to gather firewood for the remainder of winter. If she intends the season to be long and bitter, she ensures the day is clear and bright, so she may gather as much wood as possible. And so the farmers watch the sky in dread, because a cold, beautiful day means her reign is far from over. But if the weather turns foul, if the wind howls and snow lashes the hills, they rejoice, for it means the Cailleach can fight spring no longer. Have you been nice or naughty? Grýla will know. On Christmas Eve, a child lies awake beneath a heavy woolen blanket, listening. Outside, the wind scrapes its fingers along the walls of the house, rattling shutters and worrying at the door. And somewhere in the dark, a sound moves. Not quite footsteps, not quite the settling of snow. The fire in the hearth is burned low, the Yule log glowing faintly, and every shadow in the room seems to stretch a little too far. The child has been told all year to be good, to mind their parents, to finish their chores, to hold their tongue. Because if they do not, if they are greedy or lazy or cruel, then Grýla will come for them. The child stares at the door, heart hammering, wondering if they've been good enough, if the bread they stole or the lie they told or the moment of anger will be enough to doom them. The fire shifts, the Yule log collapses inward with a hiss, and for a moment the room smells of smoke and sap, and something else, something colder. In the folklore of medieval Iceland, Grýla is not a gentle warning whispered to children. She's a terrifying promise. A towering winter giantess who comes down from the mountains when the snow is deepest and the nights are longest, searching for naughty children to drag back to her cave, high in the mountains where winter never loosens its grip, where she boils them alive and eats them. She is ancient, older than Christmas as we know it. Her name appears in Icelandic sources as early as the 13th century, long before she was softened into seasonal tradition. Back then she was the embodiment of the trials and hunger and famine faced during the long winter, a figure born of the dark season, when food ran out, storms trapped families indoors, and children were expected to obey, or else. Grýla is described as enormous, her body twisted and monstrous, with hooves or claws for feet, horns or a tail depending on the telling. Her skin grey and weathered like rock scoured by ice. She smells of smoke, sour milk, and old snow. When she moves, the ground groans beneath her weight, and when she laughs, it is said to echo across the valley like cracking ice. Like the Cailleach of Scotland, she is winter made flesh, a female force of cold punishment and endurance. But where the Cailleach rules the land, Grýla rules the home. She does not freeze crops or raise mountains. Instead, she comes at the end of the long year to pass judgment, to review your behaviour when the days were long and harvest abundant, and to decide whether you deserve to pass the winter unharmed. And she does not come alone. With her travel the Yule lads, her 13 sons, strange, half-comic, half-menacing figures, who slip into villages one by one in the nights leading up to Christmas. Each has his own vice, stealing sausages, slamming doors, licking spoons, peering through windows. In later tradition, they leave gifts for good children and rotten things for bad. But in older tellings, they are not so playful. They are scouts, watchers, proof that Grýla is close. Even in modern retellings, she is the stuff of nightmares. In the chilling adventures of Sabrina, Grýla appears not as a quaint folkloric relic, but as something closer to her original form. Terrifying, mystical, fierce and unremorseful, yet maternal in the most alarming way. A figure even more dark and disturbing than the witches themselves. Even they fear her, and must try to distract and pacify her to avoid her wrath. And if the writers are correct, then on Christmas Eve it's wise to leave something out for Grýla, not milk or cookies, but something stronger. A glass of gin placed quietly by the hearth, an offering to the Winter Mother and her sons, a sign of respect, a plea that she may pass your house by, satisfied, and leave only silence and snow in her wake. The fire dies lower, the Yule log settles into ash, and if the house remains undisturbed through the night, if no heavy footsteps cross the roof, and no clawed hand tests the door, then perhaps, just perhaps, you've been good enough this year. A cold breeze is not the only thing that prowls the wintry landscape. Long after Grýla returns to her cave in the frozen mountains, her shadow lingers in the form of a companion, the Yule Cat. Fierce, enormous and silent, it prowls the snow-covered fields, a warning not to children this time, but to farmers. For those who fail to finish their harvest of wool before winter, who neglect the flocks or leave their sheep shivering in the cold, the Yule Cat waits. Its hunger is legendary. Anyone who has not received new clothes before Christmas risks falling prey to its massive paws, devoured in a single night. In the harsh Icelandic winter, without woolen warmth, even the bravest souls can freeze. The cat is relentless, a reminder that survival depends on diligence, hard work, and respect for the season's demands. From the 1862 collection of Icelandic folklore by John Arneson, the Yule Cat stalks the land, a creature born of harsh winters and human fear. By the 20th century, it was considered Grýla's pet, an extension of the giantess herself, sent to enforce her rule in the villages below. It moves silently through drifts of snow, eyes glowing like lanterns, paws making no sound upon the frozen ground. Farmers would hurry to finish their work, to shear their sheep and weave their wool, knowing that without the protective gift of warm clothes, the Yule Cat could strike at any moment. And so on Christmas Eve, the glow of the Yule log burning in the hearth is more than festive. It's a beacon of safety. Warmth, light and clothing offer protection. The Yule Cat prowls, but those who respect the season, who finish their harvests, and who honour the rhythms of winter, may see it pass silently by, leaving only snow and shadow behind. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, safe and warm with your family at the hearth, or drinking plenty of gin with Grýla.